what? No, I didn't click that. I clicked going live. Okay, looks like we are live. Hey, everybody, it's JJ Conway. I'm super excited to be with you today. I've got a new t-shirt, y'all. If y'all saw my earlier broadcast this afternoon, then you'll recognize that this new shirt and I'm going to do a t-shirt contest. Y'all know when I get a new t-shirt, I do a t-shirt contest. If you all know what this is from, drop it in the comments and then drop your Cash App, and everybody who gets it right will be entered into a drawing for a little blessing that I'll send you. But it says, I go all out for every client every time. All right, I go all out. I'm trying to do this without being unseemly here. I go all out every client every time. If you know what that shirt is from, I want you to drop the answer in the comment and make sure you include your Cash App. All right, I'm super excited to be with y'all today because we are going to talk about something that has been near and dear to my heart for 10 years now. That's right. We're going to talk about virtual summits. And when I'm talking about doing this for over 10 years, I tell you what, I was doing virtual summits before the pandemic. All right. So let me say that again. I was doing virtual summits before the pandemic, and I was doing virtual summits before the pandemic by virtue of the fact that the content I needed to be brought into my own life was content that I couldn't get from the people around me. So I had to reach out, and the best way for me to reach out with no budget was to be virtual. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today, but what we're going to really cover, today in our time tonight, we're going to cover building wealth together. For those of you who don't know, I really need to change that because we're rebranding the Ladies of Wealth, and I keep forgetting to change my slides. So I need to do that. We're finally rebranding the podcast. I finally just decided, look, we're not getting anywhere waiting on me to get all the old episodes out that say, hey, this is JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together. Like, I was trying to get all that out before we rebranded. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's already May. We need to just go ahead and do this thing and just get it done, and people will understand. But yes, we're going to talk a little bit about what this Thursday night class is. We're going to spend the most of our time talking about virtual summits today. I want to spend some time talking about the crucial mistake that eats away your profit. A lot of people lose big money on virtual summits because they make this crucial mistake. And if you have lost money in a virtual summit, or if you're scared to launch that virtual summit that's on your heart because you don't want to lose money, well, you want to watch the full presentation tonight. All right. Or today, if you're watching this in some other time zone. Okay. So we're going to talk about how to find your value path. We're going to talk about how to find seats. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning, y'all, because I don't think any education is complete without telling you some of the pitfalls that I've been through and how you can get around them. I just so happen, this is so hilarious. So normally at this, wait, let me take me off there because you can't see this, you can't see the text there. Normally, when I have this class is in May. It's the second, so this is the second the second Thursday in May. Normally the Juneteenth conference, the speakers are already filled up. I've already sent all of the videos. Okay, let me put it on me because I don't think this is helpful. Okay, so normally by the time we teach this class, we usually teach this class in May, and our second Thursday 7-figure business building class. And usually by then, Juneteenth is filled. We've already sent the recordings off to the production team, and through my own mistakes, there's a couple of slots that have come open. So there was some communication errors, and some of the speakers didn't get the information. And so if you can turn around a quick talk, or if you can turn around a quick chapter, you can be in still the Juneteenth Legacy Conference. Oh, I just know, when things like that happen, I always know that somebody who gets in at the last minute, they were meant to be there from the beginning. And maybe their money was a little funny, or maybe their time wasn't fine, or whatever it was at the moment that they first heard it, they couldn't take advantage of the opportunity. Well, guess what? The Lord brought it back around and gave you another opportunity to be in the conference. So I actually have a summit upcoming. Normally when I teach this, the Healing My Sister Summit is over. The Juneteenth Legacy Summit is already complete. So because I still have this conference available, you can go out there if you want more details about how you can be in the conference. I'm actually going to do something special for you because I'm still in the throes of planning the virtual summit. Whereas normally I'd be done by now. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give everybody a very special opportunity. I'm going to give everybody a very special opportunity. Okay, building wealth together. What we are is we are not get rich quick. What we are is get rich right. And there are a lot of different ways to get rich in this country. Okay, so we provide education, ethics, and accountability. We offer financial investment and entrepreneurial education. And I like to say that we offer solutions, not a sales pitch. We're here to help you. And every time we teach a class, I like to make two promises. One, I promise you're going to learn something that you can implement tonight in your business, in your relationships, in your ministry, in your life. It's interesting to me how it's all intertwined, and what helps one also helps the other. But tonight you're going to learn some things you can implement right away, and you can start profiting depending on your personality, man. You can start profiting tomorrow, but by the end of the week, by the end of the month, by the end of the year, you can start making it happen for you. And that's one of my two promises. The other promise that I'm going to give you today is that I'm going to give you an opportunity to dig deeper. Normally with this class, there's not an opportunity to dig deeper because I don't have a how to make a summit class. I probably should put one together, but I don't want to put one together if I don't have enough people that are interested. All right. So if you know you would be interested in something like that, let me know. And I'm going to tell you why I'm thinking about doing it. Because there was a summit I was a part of. I was part of their inaugural summit. And I was so excited for it because these are ladies. I was aligned with their purpose, and we were all trying to help people elevate with their money. And I just knew this was going to be the big thing. Well, the summit was a flop. It didn't make any money. We hardly had any views. It was a flop from the perspective of the goals that the planners had. Now, for the speakers, it wasn't a flop because we got more exposure. We got marketing collateral. We got to post that we were in the conference. So for speakers, it wasn't a flop. But for the planning team, it was a flop. But you know what that planning team turned around and did? There's a reason why I'm not naming them, y'all. That planning team turned around and then a few months later sold a course. Y'all, they sold a course for like $500 on how to plan a virtual summit. And I was so mad because I had already been done doing it. And I knew that from the back end conversations, from the admin conversations, that it had failed to accomplish anybody's goal. It didn't add more subscribers. It didn't put any money in anybody's pocket. It didn't increase exposure of the speakers. It was just a flop. But you know what those leaders did? They were like, well, we lost too much money. We're going to write a book, sell a book, write a course, sell a course, and we're going to make some money off of this experience. Now, look, I appreciate the American ingenuity, but at the end of the day, you got to learn from somebody who knows what they're doing. Man, I meant to tell that story when I had a warning for you. Well, I guess you got it up front. I guess somebody who's watching now wasn't planning on staying on. Well, now you know you need to stay on till the end. All right, so you're going to get an opportunity to learn something you can implement tonight as well as dig deeper. So here's the most crucial first step. And it's amazing how many times I have been invited to be a part of someone's planning committee for their virtual summit or their planning committee for their hybrid summit. Because again, I have been doing conferences for 10 years now. Okay. And so people will bring me in, they'll ask me to sponsor. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to sponsor with money, but I will sponsor with my experience and money. I mean, my experience and my time, because I don't really know yet. Now, look, this is not what I say. And if you are somebody, if you watch me and you are somebody who I've said this to, please don't be offended because I love you enough to be a part, right? But I don't know if your conference is going to go anywhere. I don't know if you're going to get any views. I don't know if you're going to have adequate advertising. I don't know any of that stuff. So I usually don't sponsor an inaugural conference unless it's somebody that's one of my clients and my students. They have already sowed into my life and the life of my family, and now I'm giving back to them. Okay. And I'm serving them, in that capacity as their mentor or as their teacher. So usually I'll be like, well, I'm not gonna sponsor with money, but I will give my expertise and I will give my observations and I will walk alongside you in your process with an in-kind donation of my mentoring through your process, and a lot of people take me up on that. But over and over and over again, I will listen to people go in an hour and 2 hours, everybody try to figure out what it is they're going to do. And then when they finally give me a chance to talk, my thing is, what is, drum roll, who knows what I'm going to ask? If you're live, you can pop it in the chat. The one question I'm asking them is, what is your why? Why are we doing this? People spend so much time trying to plan out what the event's going to look like, what the branding colors are going to be, what sponsors we're going to get, how much are we going to sell the tickets for. But nobody ever starts with the most crucial aspect of it, and that is, why are you doing this in the first place? See, why you're doing it in the first place makes a huge difference in what you do going forward. So why do you want to have a virtual summit? Are you trying to generate revenue? Okay. Are you trying to build your list or get exposure? Are you trying to reach into higher networks and build greater connections? Are you trying to establish credibility as the leader in your field? Are you doing this to change lives? Answering these questions helps you determine the path forward, because it all starts with, what is it you're trying to do? The path to accomplishing these goals is different for each of those goals. It's the same virtual summit, but the tickets you charge, whether you charge the speakers or whether you pay speakers, I mean, all the different goals you have are all wrapped up. They're all wrapped up in your why. Your why is the path. Your why dictates the path forward. So if you are trying to generate revenue, that conference, that virtual summit looks different from a conference where you're really trying to pour lives as your primary goal. Now, please, sir, please, ma'am, don't hear what I didn't say. I'm not saying you can't earn revenue and change lives. You absolutely can earn revenue and change lives. No, want to know how I know? Because I do it every day. I don't have my cup, y'all, but my cup says, my Conway Financial Group cup, it says, I'm building wealth that changes lives. And every time I take a sip out of that cup, I am reminded that I'm building wealth that changes lives. So you absolutely can generate revenue and change lives. You can do the other things too. You can generate revenue, gain greater exposure, build your connections, build credibility, and change lives all at the same time. But I'm going to submit to you today that if it's your first virtual summit, why don't we pick one goal and place that as the priority over all others? Some of you watching me today or listening to me, if you're listening to this as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast, some of you are like, well, who runs a conference and isn't trying to make money? You would be surprised how many people out there actually run conferences as marketing. So they're running the conference not to make money. They know that they're going to lose money, but they're using it as a marketing effort or a networking outreach. Now, many of us on today, you're entrepreneurs. You're kicking butt and taking names, and you're not trying to do anything that doesn't bring profit. But you might decide that it's more important to you to bring in some big names, get some greater exposure, and make some greater connections, understanding that if you execute that properly, you're going to translate into more revenue down the line. Okay, so there's all different kinds of ways to execute your event. And then even among genres, there's differences of how you do it. Okay, so let's take the revenue stream, because I know that's why most people are on. They want them. They're on 7-figure business building because they trying to build a 7-figure business. All right, let's take the revenue stream. In any endeavor you have, you're going to find the sweet spot. All right. Now, this particular graph, some of you, if you're an author today, you're going to recognize that this particular graph is from Kindle. Okay, I simply cut and pasted the graph they gave me in Kindle. And what this graph tells me in Kindle, when you publish a book, doesn't start at zero, because you got to have a minimum price in Kindle to sell your book, right? But it starts at whatever that minimum price is, and it draws the sweet spot graph. And it says, if you price your book here, you hit that balance of its low enough cost that more people buy it and high enough cost that you make the most money. Okay, so when we look at the sweet spot for any business, whatever the business is, whatever the revenue model is, okay, and hey, but while I'm explaining this, I just want to thank Ms. Monique for bringing in her tribe, bringing in some folks today. I appreciate you. You've been speaking at my events for a long time. Hold on, let me give a quick testimony. Wait. Wait a second. You, I can't do it. I can't see you, so I got to make sure you're the right Monique. I want to give you a testimonial about the wrong thing. Oh, but anyway, I appreciate you. Wait. I appreciate you bringing everybody in. I can't see your picture. Okay, so I can't see your picture to know which one you are. Wait, I was gonna give you, well, drop your business. Tell you what, drop your business link in the chat so everybody knows who you are. Okay. Yes, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. Because you know, but yes, this young lady, she is on fire for God and for changing the world. She's had some, she was very instrumental to helping me push through with the health challenges after that car accident that practically ended my military career. And I tell you what, if you need an inspiring speaker for your event, you need to pick up with Monique Washington. All right. You threw me off, lady. You don't have your last name on there. If that's not, oh, look, she put her website. Hold on. Look, I was about to say, oops, if that wasn't your last name, let me know and I will do it again. But yes. Oh my goodness. I still remember. You know what? You are still on my slide of people that I thank for keeping my son when I went TDY. I know he wasn't easy to keep, but that boy graduating in 2 weeks, y'all, a week and a half. Oh, that boy's gonna be graduating, walking across that stage. Our job is done. You know what? I should send something special to all the ladies who kept him when I was TDY. I don't have Clark's contact information, but I got Monique, I got Amy, I got Aaron. Oh, I bet I could do something. Anyway, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm getting all distracted. I'm all up in my feels now, right? Oh, y'all. Okay, but it takes a village for real. All right, so let me go back to the sweet spot. Those of you who don't know me, I'm sorry. I had a moment there, but you know what? It's all good. I'm going to give you the real goods about these virtual summits, all right? Okay, so in any endeavor that you're doing, there is a sweet spot, okay? If you're having a conference, the sweet spot graph for your conference could possibly start at zero unless you are pre-selling because you don't have any money to really cover the costs of holding the conference out of your pocket first, okay? But a lot of times when you're running a conference, even a virtual conference, you're going to have upfront costs, okay? And so whatever it is for you, every business model is going to have a sweet spot. If I price my stuff too low, I might get more people, but I won't get enough profit. If I increase my price, I might start, let's see, if I increase my price, I might start losing people, but I'm going to gain more profit. Let me say that again. If I have a lower price, I might have more people, but I might make such little profit per unit sold that I don't make much profit. And as I increase my price, I might lose some people buying, but because they're buying at a higher price, the ones who are buying, I get more profit. And then you get this sweet spot where it represents the highest amount of profit you can get per price unit. All right. And then if you keep pricing it higher, like, well, hey, people will pay $99. I'll bet they'll pay $149. Well, then what you find is that the people start dropping off. And now not only are they dropping off, but so much fewer people are buying that you don't make enough profit. So every endeavor that you do for revenue is going to have a sweet spot in your sales. Okay. And then your revenues are going to also have a sweet spot in your income. So if you're charging vendors, if you're charging speakers, if you're charging sponsors, however that goes, every event is also going to have a sweet spot for how you can get the best thing. Now, look, I'm not going to pull out, quadratic equations and physics on you. All right. I'm not going to do that today, but you add in a ton of features and you can get very, very sophisticated about how to balance all the things. I'm going to say today, to make your first $1,000 for virtual summits, you don't really have to play that game. You just have to know what it is you want to do and then follow a good model from somebody who's done it before and figure out and value that thing. So if you're putting together a summit and you are trying to make money, you would not want to fall into the trap of buying all these great products and trinkets to help you make more money, because that's outgoing money and you don't know how to use the things. And I'm sure I'm not the only one on today who has bought into something thinking I was going to use it, and then I get bogged down trying to implement it. I can't get it installed. Now I got to spend more money to get somebody else to install it. They want to charge $20 million and my firstborn son. Then I just can't do it. So then that just sits there by the wayside. And every time we see that on our bills that we're paying on, we get upset. Or every time we see that tool there that we can't use, we get upset. So we don't want to do that today. Okay. If our goal is to make money, we need to make money. And I teach a debt-free lifestyle. Okay. Now I'm not going to pretend that I've always lived a debt-free lifestyle. I had to climb out of over $845,000 of debt. All right. So I understand all the arguments for putting things on Hip National Bank and I'm going to put it on this card because if I don't bet on myself, nobody else will. Yeah, I've been there and done that and still paid the bills for it over 10 years. And some of us, we thought we got smart with that thing. We done refinanced those bills in our house, and then we paid on them for 30 years, and then paid 5 times as much for them. All right, so I don't want you to do that. You want somebody who wants you to do that, you're gonna have to go to a different platform, and you know what's gonna happen? You're probably gonna lose money. Okay, so let's look at how to do something in a way that's going to actually make us money. Now, you may not be here to make money. All right. You might be here because you want to increase your exposure. Increasing your exposure usually costs more money. Increasing your connections usually costs more money. Okay. I don't do it every year. I don't do it every year because it's pricey, but there are times where I have reached way down into those savings and I have brought in a big name. Why have I brought in a big name? I wanted to be mentored by them. That's usually why I bring in a big name. I want to be mentored by whoever it is, or they've got a large enough following of the audience I'm speaking to that they'll be able to bring the people in. Okay. And but for building those connections, sometimes you got to put some money out, or you've got to serve. And you can get a lot of ways and a lot of doors open simply by serving, volunteering to help them sell their books at their event, do it at their own events, and do this and this and that and that for them. Okay, get on. Dr. Fraser likes to say, get on their agenda before you expect them to get on your agenda. All right. And so with that, we have to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Now, I do want to talk briefly about credibility, okay? Because credibility is a really interesting thing. This is actually what got me started in doing conferences, okay? What got me started in doing conferences, I should be putting up these comments. I'm sorry, y'all. I've got such a slow response on these things, but credibility is actually what got me started in the conference space, because I'd been doing financial planning for free since 1998. All right. And then in 2013, sequestration happened, and I realized I needed to transition from free to fee, because the government, everybody used to talk about how you got to go get you a good government job. Well, I found out during sequestration, all government jobs weren't good government jobs. In fact, my agency cut people's pay and cut their hours. And unlike other agencies where people got their money back after sequestration was over, my agency, the civilians didn't get their money back. It was just sunk cost. Hey, you didn't work the time, you're not getting the money. Okay. So, so I was like, okay, well, we need to take matters into our own hand because I'm going to need all my money. I need all my money and all my time off. And not when you know what the worst part was? They told them they couldn't work. They had to only work 4 days a week, but they couldn't take Friday off or Monday off. I was like, really? Really? Come on now. Y'all could do better. Hey, Dennis. So glad you're here. How so glad you're here. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Moving from fee to free. I mean, from free to fee. Let me say that again. Moving from free to fee. Yes, yes. All right, all right. So, so because of that, I knew I needed to do something. And one of the things that I did was I took a training class from Ramsey Solutions on how to transition and be a paid financial coach. I was in the process of getting my financial certification from George Mason, and I started that process in 2014. And then I realized that financial planning was probably more involved than I was going to be able to do for people as a full-time military mom who was still single. I was a single military mom. The divorce had worked a number on me, but I realized I still wanted that skill set, and I still do financial planning for the clients who are willing to pay for it. However, that was going to be my target demographic was not going to be willing to pay $3,000 and $5,000 or $10,000 a pop for me to implement for them a financial plan. Okay, so I had to adjust. So I went to Dave Ramsey's team and I took their financial coaching class. And one of the things that they told me in their financial coaching class, this is where I got this from. First of all, I thought, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people have a lot of issue with Dave Ramsey, all right? And I done signed something to say I'll never say anything bad about him, but he's never been very impressed with me. That's not saying something bad, that's saying something true. I think I might have finally won him over at the VIP dinner the last time I was there. But even though I was like one of the top producers, I'm just not a good fit for the culture. Let's just say it that way, right? And so but for all the complaints that a lot of people have, one thing about that company is when you buy into their products and their services, they go all out and they teach you the things. And we sat in those after evening services with Les Ninow and some of the other personalities. And after our training was over, they would sit there for hours, like 4 hours, 6 hours. I mean, we'd go to bed at like midnight. The class would be over at 5. We'd get dinner, go back to the hotel, sit down, talking in the hotel. And Les Ninow laid out, he said, here's how Dave Ramsey started his business, and here's how you started. He said, da 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 da. And I tell you what, I've done everything that they said to do, with the exception of getting on radio, because there's no radio around here for me to get on, so I got a podcast, right? I've done everything Les said for me to do, and it has served me well. And one of the things that Les said for me to do was to go speak. Speak as a source of lead generation. That's what got me into speaking. Now, I enjoyed speaking when I went to my very first National Society of Black Physicists. That was my very first speaking engagement. I was like, and first of all, I was just like amazed because there was like 500 people in the room that looked like me. So it was conjoined, the National Society of Black Physicists and the National Society of Hispanic Physicists. I had never seen any physicists of color up until then, let alone a room of like 500. It was just, it blew my mind. And then what also blew my mind is I said a few little things in my little after dinner panel, and people clapped. And I was like, I could get paid for this, right? But it wasn't a serious thing for me because I just wasn't all that good for it. I found that out really quick. I wasn't good at it back then. But he says, start speaking. That's going to be your number one way to get clients, is to get out there and start speaking until you can get a radio show. Okay, this was a while ago. This was 10 years ago, right? Radio was still important back then. And now that I live in rural Texas, it is important again, but it's not to a lot of people today. I understand that. But he said, "Go get us." And I was like, "Well, what if I can't get anybody to get me on their stage?" He said, "Well, then, girl, you need to create your own stage." I'm trying to vision him in my mind. He probably said something like, "Well, honey, you need to create your own stage." And he was right. I couldn't get anybody to hire me. Sometimes some of the real estate investment meetings that I was a member of would let me speak in their open mic. You get like 2 minutes to advertise your deal. Well, I didn't have a property to advertise because I was trying to buy some. But what I had was my financial planning. And so if you don't have a stage to speak on, create your own stage. And that's why we had the very first Building Wealth Together conference in Kingstown, Keller Williams, Kingstown, Alexandria, Virginia, back in 2000. I was 9 months pregnant with Gabe. So that was 2015. That was our very first conference. And now we're planning our 10th anniversary conference. All right. And so I'm just very excited about the fact that this stuff worked and has worked well for me. But when you're just getting started, sometimes you just got to find a room that's free and see if you can fill it with some people. And in the context of a virtual summit, get you a Zoom. You get free Zoom up to 40 minutes, or partner with somebody with a paid Zoom, or partner with somebody with a paid StreamYard if you want to do something long. Or you know what? Facebook Live it. Facebook Live now allows you to bring people in. So you don't have to do all the summit stuff yourself. You can bring people in. You can have them send in videos and all that kind of stuff. All right. Now, we're not going to talk about those mechanics today. Those mechanics of bringing the people in and actually executing that's a person by person conversation. And so if you really want to understand how that will work for you in your situation, I encourage you to get in my group coaching. I put the Juneteenth speaker down there because I want people to get in this stage of mine, juneteenthspeaker.com. I even have a free opportunity for you. Now, I will say, y'all, that the what is free and the how has a fee. The free speakers for the Juneteenth Legacy, they don't get access to the world-class training portal with all the training, all the how to build your lead magnet in 10 minutes or less, like all that stuff. That's in the portal. You got to be a paid speaker to get access to the portal. But everybody can be on the Juneteenth Legacy Summit, all right? But if you want to understand how to do the mechanics of hosting a summit, all right, for you, the mechanics of the people and the software and all that, I'm going to encourage you to join my group coaching program. jjclink.com/group. I'm putting it in the chat. All right. jjclink.com/group. If you join the group coaching program every first Tuesday at 11 o'clock Central, we sit down for an hour or so and I answer your questions. And I just answer questions till all the questions are answered. And it's usually a small crowd. So unless you just really want to pay more for my one-on-one, the group coaching is an excellent way to have a nice, intimate session where you can get your questions answered and we can workshop what you're working on, not just the broad internet. I got 30 seconds, I can answer your question, right? But actually sit there and workshop. It's kind of like office hours, all right? So that's at jjclink.com/group, all right? So everything that we want to do, it all comes down to the why. Why are we doing this? What are we trying to make happen? Okay, we're going to look for the sweet spot, regardless of how we feel about it. We're going to look for the sweet spot on our platform, look for the sweet spot of our genre, look for the sweet spot of what other people who are doing what we want to do, what they're doing. Okay, we're going to look for that sweet spot in our pricing. And you might find that for your goal, the pricing being free is what you need to do. Especially if it's your first one, okay? I'm not trying to be a downer or anything, but if you don't know what you're doing yet, well, why don't you just test the waters? Now I will say, if you don't know what you're doing, there are easier ways to test the waters than doing virtual summits. These things are so handy. We can just pop one up and do the Facebook Live, or we can record on them and upload it to Facebook, to YouTube, to all the things for free. Okay. So there are ways to test the market. You don't have to put together a whole event, but putting together your first event can be scary. And so that's why it's really good to have a mentor or somebody who can walk you through that. But it starts with what it is you're trying to accomplish, okay? And so we talked a little bit about the sweet spot of revenue, okay? The other thing about revenue, our why will determine how we're making revenue. It's going to determine whether or not we're charging the speakers, whether or not we're charging attendees, whether or not we're charging advertising. Virtual, are we charging people to put their company in our swag bags? And I put virtual and physical here because even if you have a virtual event, you can still send out physical swag. Just watch out, y'all. Watch out for them shipping prices. USPS box to send people a swag box. Y'all, that's like $20 almost now. I do. So my swag boxes for my events are $39. And because I need to keep it at $39, I don't want to go up past that. But shipping is like 17 or 18 of that. I've started saying, okay, speakers, you send me your stuff. I don't even put my own swag in. I might put something that I have in there. Like I want to do mugs again. But I was just like, well, gee, if I'm gonna pay that much, I'm gonna pay like 13 for the small box or $20 for the big box. I'm gonna do the big box and put it full of all kinds of stuff. We put in speaker books and mugs and personalized notebooks. I mean, all kinds of stuff to have people have some value. Okay. Even with a virtual summit, you can still do some things like that that have value. But your goal is going to inform that. Because if you start charging speakers, you're going to have a different caliber and a different feeling of speaker. If you're charging speakers, it's got to be community. It's got to be a community feeling. It can't just be a revenue generator because revenue generators, the speakers are generally paid, and they're going to be a higher caliber speaker when it comes to sales. It doesn't mean they're a higher caliber speaker when it comes to heart and message, but they are going to know how to sell, and they're going to know how to sell the audience into the back of the room and generate their revenue that way. Okay. But when you're charging speakers to participate, unless you got a big name, it might be a little more difficult to get the feeling you want, if the feeling you want is a community impact. Okay. Unless it's a big name that your community recognizes. And don't always, you might be surprised at who people recognize. Like one of our choices, clinic here, they help do prenatal counseling for unwed mothers. They offer diapers and clothes, and when I get this doctorate done, I have promised I'm going to help teach some financial classes. They got Ben Carson coming to their next choices banquet. I was like, what? I was like, how's that going on in rural Trump America? And the response was like, people are so excited, they're willing to pay, get this, y'all, $5,000 just to meet Ben Carson in rural Trump, Texas, America. I was like, well, all right then. All right. So don't ever, if the dream is on your heart, what am I trying to say with that? If the dream is on your heart, don't just dismiss it because you don't think it could work. If the Lord had dropped Ben Carson into my heart, I would have been like, is that the spirit or is that the devil? And I would have really had to pray on that thing because I wouldn't have believed it. Well, now I will. Because I'm like, woo, how can I generate $5,000 by such and such time? Tell you what, people find ways to get money for what they want. Okay, but even if you're doing a virtual event, you can still have physical swag. You could decide to charge people or not charge people. If you charge people to put their swag in your swag bag, or if you charge people to put their virtual ad, their digital ad in your digital booklet, or what I like to call virtual swag, well, you better make sure that you're going to get enough people's eyeballs on it and enough people to click on it to make a difference. And so, I mean, there's the numbers are out there, like 100 eyeballs to one click and like 10 clicks to one purchase. So, I mean, unless you can get thousands of eyeballs on something, maybe you don't want to charge. But on the other hand, if you don't charge people to be in there, maybe you get a whole lot of, I was about to say something I'm not going to say because I realize I'm going to offend some people and they're not going to understand where I'm coming from on that. But when you see quality products and quality business opportunities, and you know that a lot of things are not quality out there. And so you got to balance those things. All right. And another thing that I put on here, I put virtual and physical destinations because maybe you don't have a lot of pull with your credibility yet, but maybe you live in a place where you can bring people along virtually in a physical destination that they might not otherwise have access to. Okay, so all of these different revenue streams require a different type of planning, and it's really going to be dependent on what it is you're going to do, what is your health level, what do you have access to. I get frustrated sometimes. I remember when I was a struggling single mom, $800,000 of debt. and I would go and ask for help. Like, how do I break through this? How do I bust through this? How do I make a dent in this huge thing? And then the answers would be either like walk away from it, or they would be like, well, get up an extra hour and devote that to your business. And I would be like, but I already wake up at 4 in the morning and I'm already hustling hard all day long till midnight. Like, you telling me to get an extra hour up, an extra hour, wasn't going to help me solve my problem, you know? And so some of these things, even if they would work for somebody else, it may not work for you. And some of you know that today. Some of you have tried this and you've tried that, and it seems to work for this one and it worked for that one, but you don't have the energy and the stamina. Or maybe you've tried what this one does and that one does, but they're a high inspiring, salesy kind of personality who could just connect with people instantly, understand what they need instantly. And maybe you're a high C personality and you're more cautious and you need more data and you take a little longer to warm up to people, and maybe you don't have the same results. We don't all get the same results. So it's important to really do a total, what do they call that when it's total? Is that holistic? I think that's the word I'm looking for. A holistic analysis of what you want to do and why you want to do it and what you have ability to do and what you have outreach to do. Now, if you tell me, well, I can't make it happen, I'm going to challenge that, because I believe that when the Lord allows the dream to come to you, he also has already resourced it for you. You just may not know it, right? Like, I had a mentor one time. I was doing this conference call. I do it every year. It's John Maxwell's Live to Lead. It's a virtual conference, but they plan it. I don't plan it. I just serve it, right? I set up a venue and I serve it, or I sell people in the online, unlike the other ones that I planned. And the first year I did it, I was with a partner. Well, that partner backed out on me and decided to do her own thing. I should have known something was up, because when we had our last meeting, she brought a recorder and said she was going to record everything. And then I said, well, if you're going to record, I'm going to record. And I'm still not I'm still not putting two and two together. But so I noticed that she started asking me all the questions and she wasn't offering any suggestions or solutions. So after a while, I stopped. I at least figured that much out. But she took all my suggestions and went off and did them and left me holding the bag. And instead of us doing the event together, she went and did her own thing. I pretty much think it flopped, but because I don't remember her actually executing the event. But now I'm stuck with no way to generate revenue. I was active duty military, and I'm like, well, I don't have time to do what she was going to do. She was work at home mom. She was going to, while the kids were at school, she was going to go around and get sponsors and get all the people to do the things. And so I'm whining to my mentor about, like, how am I going to sell people into this virtual thing? And because virtual wasn't as popular back then as it is today. Okay. Virtual back then was a new thing. It wasn't established like it is since the pandemic. And he was like, I don't believe you that you can't find people to sell into. He said, go up and down your main drag and stop at every single business and offer them 2 free tickets to come to your event. And I was like, whatever. But I'm a person, when my mentors tell me something to do and I don't think it's going to work inside, but I paid this person to tell me what to do. So I'm the kind of person, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to come back and show you why you were wrong. Well, he wasn't wrong. I think I spent about an hour and I didn't even get a whole mile down the street of stopping in every single business to tell them about John Maxwell's Live to Lead. Okay. And so for me, I've learned that there's always a way to do something. There's always more business out there. Okay. But I also understand that some of us have very real health and family challenges. And so you want to be able to work within that, not stress about what you can't do, but focus on what you can do. Stop worrying about what you can't do and do the things that you can do. Some of y'all have seen this illustration before. I'm going to draw it out. I usually use my hands, but I just feel like it would be good to draw it out today. Okay? If this circle is the stuff we can do within our time, health, strength, and constraints of life, right? If that circle represents the stuff that we can do, most of us are pining away for the stuff we can't do. All right. Most of us are pining away for the stuff we can't do. All right. Oh, I'll never be a 6'4", size 0 model, so I won't get all the free stuff, y'all. If you've never heard my Angel story, outings with Angel, watching men fall all over themselves to just give her stuff and buy stuff for her, and I'm sitting there like, well, what about me and the other lady we're with? Like, can you hook some sisters up? Where's your wingman? Y'all, you don't have any good wingmen. Y'all supposed to take care of us so you can get to her. Right? So I could sit around and be upset about that I don't have that kind of physical attribute, but that has nothing to do with what I can do. And here's something, I'm gonna make a dot here. Here's something we could do, all right? And if we would just do it, then our circle of what else we could do would expand. But we don't do what we can do because we're busy looking at what we can't do. But if we would do what we can do, then our circle of what we could do will expand. And then then if we do the next thing that we can do, let me make that a different color. Okay. If we do the next thing that we can do, we'll make that one green. Then that circle of what we can do can expand. And if we keep going and keep going, we will be able to eventually do way more than we ever think or imagine we're able to do. Why? Because we are somebody who is led by somebody. It's about who we are and whose we are. And when the idea comes to us, it has already been decreed that if we will walk through the door, the resources will show up at the time that we need them. But we get so stuck in what we can't do. We get so stuck in what energy we don't have. We get so stuck in what health we don't have. We get so stuck in what supportive spouse we don't have. We get stuck in the good kids that we don't have. And we look at all the trouble, and we look at all the things, and we start falling into the trap that Napoleon Hill writes about in Think and Grow Rich. Thinks about in Think and Grow Rich, and we start focusing on what our present circumstance is instead of operating according to our calling. Well, if we will operate according to our calling, we'll focus on the things we can do, take one step after another, and it will lead us home. It'll lead us to that revenue. It'll lead us to that credibility. It will lead us to all the things that it is we want to accomplish, not just with virtual summits, but y'all, this is a good word for life. Okay. So we absolutely, absolutely, absolutely got to start with the why. All right. Now I've spent, it says, StreamYard says I have spent 47 minutes talking about this first step. Why? Because it's the most important. I'm not going to spend as long talking about filling seats or offering the value, but we're going to talk about those things. All right. But I just want you to know the other topics are going to go quick, because once you get this down, everything else flows from your why. Okay. So one of the biggest questions I get a lot is, how do I fill seats? There's all kinds of ways to fill seats. And again, it does tie into your why. Depending on what you're trying to do, you might want to offer VIP status. Some people like to see and be seen. They like me. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I like what you're doing, I want to sit up front. I want to sit up front. I want to be able to be eyeball with the speakers. I want to be able to turn around with my phone and click and do the selfie that I'm here and look who's on the stage, like larger than life. There's so many times when I've been in the VIP rows in the front seat, and I've got up to the stage, and the speaker has bent down, and I've gotten my selfie, right? Like, I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to be at VIP when I can be VIP, right? But a lot of people don't care. So you got to understand your audience and what they want. All right. Then there's other things that you can do. The number 1 and 2 ways that I personally find with virtual summits is to create a sense of urgency. I didn't put it on here. I meant to. The fear of missing out. Affiliates or word of mouth. Affiliates are fantastic because affiliates create win-win-win situations. Now, for those of you who don't know what affiliates are, I got a whole training on my YouTube channel at JJ Knows the Way. My whole training on my YouTube channel about the affiliates, okay, and how it works and how you can use Amazon and other companies that have affiliates. For speaking, the great thing about a lot of these platforms is that if you build tickets on your virtual summit, on one of the platforms that offers affiliates, you go in there and you type the person's name and email, you hit click, it gives them a special link. And whenever they share that special link, guess what? When their friends buy through that special link, it attributes back to them and they get a cut of the profit. And for me, I like to give very high profit share with my speakers at my events, and I give a moderate profit share for anybody else off the street that just wants to be an affiliate. I will always offer affiliate programs when and where I can, because affiliate programs is a huge part of how I started in business. In fact, it was affiliate programs that I was using to save money to buy into some speakers' things, and I didn't have the money to buy into their coaching programs or their mentoring programs. So I used their affiliate programs to generate revenue. And it's so interesting to me that it worked for me, that I will always create that pathway. Now, there's sometimes I use a software that won't do it. Sometimes we're in a unique situation where I don't have that liberty, especially as I start planning more and more with committees instead of just being me. But if I can offer a pathway to your success, I am absolutely going to offer that pathway, because I remember what it was like to be $845,000 in debt and wanting so bad to get this training or get that training, but I simply couldn't afford it. And I'm so thankful for the speakers and the hosts and the hostesses who said, you know what? Yes, I can use a volunteer. Yes, you can get access to the conference, or yes, you can be one of my affiliates. And some of them are like, who are you? Are you one of my students? And I'd be like, well, not yet, but if I sell enough of your stuff, I will be. So for me, affiliates is something that I love to offer, and it's so powerful because affiliates work on that word of mouth. And if you're going to expect people to do word of mouth, you got to give them some incentive. A lot of times when I'm speaking at an event, the part of the speaker contract is going to be that they want me to send out so many blasts, and they want me to advertise the event so many times. And if you want to, you can include that. I find that if the person wasn't um let me take it off of this slide here. I find that if people don't resonate with the mission anyway, they're less likely to share. But it's always a good idea, especially if you're paying a speaker, it's always a good idea to build in that they're going to send that blast, because that way you at least get them to do it. Okay. It's not that people don't share your stuff because they don't care about your stuff. They don't share your stuff because they got a whole lot of other things going on. So you've got to give them an incentive. Affiliate links are an incentive. Giveaways are an incentive. Um, Building it into speaker contracts, those are all incentives to get people to share about your event. Okay. You can also use paid and free ads, and you can also sell vendors seats. And then I sometimes, when I have a small conference, I allow vendors to come in, like our Building Wealth Together women's conference. The last one we had in Louisiana, I think that was 2019. It might have been 18. It might have been 18. I can't remember. It might have been 19. But whatever, we had it at 11 events. And I mean, we had all this ticket sales, and I was so excited about it. But then nobody showed up. I had like 12 people in the room, and 10 of those were vendors. And I said, well, okay, I guess the vendors and speakers got the blessing. And I just went ahead and proceeded with the event. I was so embarrassed, y'all. I was like, man, I was big time. I was making big money with my conferences back then, but not this one. I mean, I still made money because people bought tickets and they didn't cancel within the window. So I mean, I still got their money. But I don't just want your money. I want to change your life. So so I just told all the vendors, I said, look, y'all can just come on up and just sit up here for the audience, because the speakers need to get some good shots. And it turned out some of those vendors learned so much that they were able to take what they learned and become financially independent, take what they learned and quit their toxic jobs. And for me, mission accomplished. I could have had a whole room full of people and nobody got their blessing because the vendors were working at their table instead of participating. But that conference was orchestrated just for those two ladies, and I'm here for it. All right. Yeah, that was tough for me. That was tough. I'll admit it. But here's one note that I want to give you, and this is one that really hit me hard. This is one note I want to give you about paid and free traffic. Okay. If your free traffic doesn't generate, guess what? Your paid stuff isn't going to either. So if you put something out into the interwebs and your friends and family and colleagues are not liking and sharing it and posting it, then you putting dollars on that for a Facebook ad isn't going to get it any more shared, any more liked, any more commented on. And this one hit me hard because I remember the class that I took, and I remember the young man who was like, yeah, no, if you're going to do this, you'll know it's good copy and good content because it works. It has high engagement on your page and people like it and they comment on it and they share it. And my stuff wasn't being shared back then. So I said, oh, he said, if your free stuff doesn't work, your paid won't either. But once you get it dialed into your audience and you know that what you have to say and the way you've graphically represented it resonates with your audience, then don't be afraid to do those paid ads. So that's some tactics on filling seats. Okay, you want to spread the word, you want to create urgency, you want to make people feel special. You want to do the same things that motivate you to buy a ticket or to sign up for an event and actually show up. You want to do that for others, especially creating some value. All right. And one of the things that always cracks me up is with a free summit or even a paid summit, and people don't have any value. They haven't offered me any value. They haven't told me how they're going to solve a problem for me. They haven't told me how they're going to add value to my life, how they're going to connect me with somebody better. If you are wanting a virtual summit, I want you to get the recording and not you get the recording on my YouTube channel and write down the things that I'm telling you so you can add that value to your conference. What is the audience going to get out of this? One of the saddest parts about being a professional speaker is realizing it's not about what you want to say. It's about what the audience needs to hear. And what the audience needs to hear and what they want to hear are often different. Don't nobody ever buy into my coaching packages because I tell them up front, we're going to work on mindset for a few years. I meant to say months. I don't want to scare you all off. We're not going to be on mindset for a few years. Well, yeah, we kind of are, but we're not really going to be on mindset for a few years. After a few months, I'm going to teach you some real estate investing. But nobody buys that. You got to sell the sizzle, not the steak. And for a lot of us, especially genuine, honest people, we have a hard time with connecting with what the audience wants so that we can give them what they need. All right. So that's very important to find those things. And what are some things that people want? People want to solve a problem. People want to prevent a problem. People want to get connected to somebody more powerful. People want to become more powerful. People want to make more money with less effort. People want to have more free time. People want to travel. They want to have healthy families, healthy lives. They want to find their soulmate. They want to do all the different things that people want to do. Find a way to add that value, and it will be much easier for you to fill seats. Now, I do want to give you a warning. And I do want to give you a couple warnings. I want you to watch out for fakers when it comes to people that are trying to sell you into their virtual summit programs. And I already talked about one at the beginning, so I'm not going to rehash that now. I talked about the fraudsters who had the flop of a first summit and then turned around and sold $500 package on they sold slides and a course, like a video like this and all that stuff on how to do a virtual summit. I was so mad. And so, Monique, I'm gonna get to your questions at the end if you're still on. We're almost done with the content. But I was so mad at them because I was part of the planning team, so I knew it flopped. And yet they're selling, and I don't know if anybody ever bought it because I broke ties with them after that. Like, I was like, I'm done. I cannot in integrity walk as part of a team that's selling something that A, I'm not getting any profit off of, first of all, and B, you are selling something that's not true. And so you want to be very careful with that. I find that a lot of these virtual summit platforms and a lot of these virtual summit education places, a lot of what they're selling, the people who are making the money are making their money when you buy into the product. It's not the person hosting the summit that's making the money. Okay. So you want to be very careful with that. All right. The other warning I'm going to give you, and this doesn't mean don't do it, but you definitely want to be aware of this, is a lot of times somebody will come out and they have this course and they're going to tell you how they had the 7-figure event. Well, a lot of times when people have these big events, they're not having big events that profit seven figures. Okay. What they're having is an event that they used affiliates that took up 50% of the profit. So that's down to 500,000. Okay. And then they spent 200 and something thousand on Facebook and other ads. Okay. Then they spent another 5,000, 500,000, not 500,000, 50,000 on um, prizes and awards and giveaways and things like that. Okay. Even virtual, sometimes I collaborate with other speakers to put their high dollar course into my event. And sometimes I buy into other speakers' high dollar course at a discount so I can put it into my event, right? So whatever they're giving away or anything like that. So basically they had a seven-figure launch, but they spent $750,000 to have that seven-figure launch. So in the end analysis, they only walk away with 250,000 or 300,000. Now I'm not knocking it, because 300,000 a year for both of us doing one, for most of us doing one event a year, that's a pretty sweet deal. But I want you to understand the background in the virtual summit world and the difference between what people say, even if they're telling the truth, how they present that truth versus what you actually get in your pocket. All right. All right. So now I'm going to, with that warning, I am going to give you some application and next steps. But before no, let me go ahead and just close this out. Let me close out the slides, and then I'm going to answer questions. So if you have questions, now's a great time to drop it in the chat. If you want to be anonymous with your question, I'm going to give you time to put them in the chat or in this form. You can go to the form at askjjc.com. It'll take you to a Google form. All right, let me drop that in the chat there. It'll take you to a Google form where you can ask your question anonymously. Okay. Sometimes we don't want our question and our photo associated with the recording. I get that. I'm with you. Y'all, I have one of these voices. There is a company in the DC area that still plays a question I asked about some of these loan refinances. I asked that question back in 2007 or 8, and they still occasionally play that. And when they play that, I get people call me, email me, or text me, "Hey, I heard you on the radio. Are you back in town?" I guess it was a good question, y'all. So so I understand if you want to be anonymous. It's easier for me if you just drop it in the chat, and that's easiest for me to see. But if you want to be anonymous, go to askjjc.com, and while I'm giving this application and next steps, you can go ahead and ask your questions for me to answer. So I said that I was going to give you two promises. One, I was going to give you something you could use today. Did I give you something that you can use today? How many of you feel like I gave you something you could use today? I want you to drop it in the chat if I gave you something you could use today. Say me, or say I can, or something like that, so I know you're responding to that question. I gave you plenty of nuggets you can put into your practice today, even if you're not doing a virtual summit, that you can use in your business. All right. Now, what I'm also promised, my second promise to everybody, was that I was going to give you an opportunity to dig deeper and learn more. And so that's where we come to the application and next steps. Okay. So when it comes to applying what we've learned tonight, one of the things that I know is that we are entrepreneurs. We can make it happen. And oops, that was the wrong. Whoop, those are all. There's a slide missing. Okay, I'm just going to close that out. There's a slide missing. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but that's not the slides I wanted to go to. Whoopsie. All right, well, we'll just put it on me. So the application and the next steps, let me see if I have at least the slide that I want y'all to take action on. Okay, there, that one's there. All right, so what I'm going to offer you for next steps, I have never done this before in this kind of a context. But because of the mix up with Juneteenth Legacy, the fact that our space in Atlanta is now up for sale, so we're not hosting it at the center that we wanted, that we were going to rent out the center. I mean, it was going to be fabulous. Y'all, I was so excited, but it's not happening. We had to move it virtual. We had to make some adjustments because we're still in the process of publishing and producing the event. I am giving you the opportunity to actually look over my shoulder. So you'll be there either live or virtually. You can either come to Texas with me or you can be over my shoulder virtually. We'll meet weekly and to talk about how the event is going, the things, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the event, why I chose to do what I did, what informed me from previous events that I've done, why we're doing it this way, why these speakers are doing that, why the anthology people, the authors in the upcoming book, why we have them doing this and that and the other. I'll walk you through all of those details so that you can see firsthand without losing your money on what an event has. And this education is really a priceless investment on your future because you get to see from true experience. Time out for all these classes and courses that want to charge you $10,000, $20,000. They want to charge you all this money to have their virtual summit course. And then they give you all these things that say, like, generate excitement with the social media buzz. Okay, well, how do I do that? Or they say, make sure you get all the seats filled so you can, make sure you have at least 500 people in the Zoom room so you can do this and do that. Okay, well, how do I do that? They don't tell you that if you have too many people in the Zoom room, Zoom cuts you off unless you buy a rider to increase your attendance. Like, what do you do? So I'm giving you the opportunity to do that. This is not an advertised class. It is not on my website. And I'm going to give you the details real quick. And then if you are in, you're going to text "I'm in" to my number. This is my number. This comes right to this phone. Wait. You can't see me. Hold on. It comes right to this phone. All right. It comes right to this purple phone. That is my number right there. You are going to text my number. I'm in. Okay. And let me tell you what you're in for. You are in for a treat because we're going to have weekly meetings via Zoom where you are able to ask me questions. I'll walk you through what we're doing. I'll take you in the back end and show you the portal. I'll show you the things that we've done. This conference has several moving parts. We're using a StreamYard topper. We're using a back end broadcast with a third-party company that does an amazing job. Then we're coming back in with an after party, and then we have a virtual book launch on that first day. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, and you're going to get an opportunity to see the different software that we use. You're going to get an opportunity to see the different pricing points that we considered. You're going to get an opportunity to see how we execute the swag bags and how we execute the physical swag boxes. Like, you are going to get to see all of this week after week. Now, I know some of you are thinking, wow, I know this is going to be like $10,000 because the last time I paid somebody, it was $7,000, $10,000, $15,000, and I still didn't get that kind of education. And JJ's offering so much more, right? You're going to be able to be with me on production day. You're going to be able to be there as part of the thing. Now, this is not me trying to generate labor. I'm not going to put you to work unless you want to be put to work, right? But you're going to actually be able to be in the StreamYard room with me. You're going to actually be able to be in the Zoom room with me. You're going to actually be able to watch the broadcast and see how it's done, so that you can move forward with your own and your own virtual events, and you can have a confidence level that you can do it. Yes, you can do it, and you can make money doing it, and you can change lives doing it. But I'm not charging $20,000 for this education. I'm not even charging $10,000. I'm not even charging $1,000 for to be able to look over my shoulder for the next 6 weeks as we prepare to execute this conference. And then a week after that, because I like sevens, for the next week so that we can hot wash that and the good, the bad, and the ugly of the event, how it went, how it's going, how it's going to go next year. $497, and you will be able to look over my shoulder. You'll get access to all the recordings. You'll be able to download all the MP3s. And this is something that you will be able to take with you and keep into your back pocket so that when you're ready for your event, you can dust it off and say, okay, here's how JJ did it, and here's how she walked through this and this. She chose this, but other people might choose this for this reason or choose that for that reason. We're going to talk about Hoova. We're going to talk about Hopin. We're going to talk about the major conference platforms, Zoom, Facebook, StreamYard. We're going to talk about what's the other one I really like? And I can't remember their name. I'm drawing a blank because I only use it with Women in Cloud. I think it's Remo. I gotta find out, but y'all, it's amazing. I don't have the because my events are more to serve. I don't have the profit margins yet to use this, and unless they want to donate it. Hey, if y'all are listening, you can be a sponsor of my next event. But oh my goodness, it's a fabulous software, and you I can walk you through as a user and a speaker. See, sometimes we do things because we think it's good for us, or we see other high level people doing it, but what we don't realize is it's a really poor product for the other people, for the end users, for the speakers who have to come on our stage. So I'm going to show you all that, air me, all the things. I'm going to go through all of that education with you. And when you're done with this process, you are going to have a bona fide education on what goes into a virtual event. Now, if that sounds like something you are interested in, I want you to text "I'm in" to my phone number there, 254-454-HOPE. Okay. Now, if you're like, JJ, I don't have 497 to give you this week. Okay, tell me what you can do and we can work something out. But look, this if it's first paid, first served. All right. And so I'm going to give people who are interested in, we're going to have our first planning meeting next Wednesday. Okay, our first, not planning meeting, we've been planning, but we're going to have our first look over my shoulder meeting next Wednesday. And I'm going to give it to that day for the 497 people. And if there's people that need some accommodations, or they're willing to bring something of value to the table in exchange for looking over my shoulder, I will work with you. Okay, I absolutely will work with you, but it does have to be of like value, because this is some world class education. I'm opening up the doors. What do they like to say in the military? I'm opening the kimono. I ain't open the kimono for anybody. That's for Mr. Man's eyes only. But I'm opening up the doors and showing you how the thing is done. All right. And so we're going to go really real into that. And again, if you're interested in that, you can text me. I'm in to 254-454-HOPE. All right. All right. Now let's go. Let's go to the questions here. Let's go to the questions. Let's see what questions we have. All right. Okay, now I have a question. How do we do that? I would have answered this in the moment had I seen this when you typed it, but by time I seen it, by time I saw it, yes, I have 2 degrees. By time I saw it, I had already moved on, and you'd already posted other things. So if you could come back and clarify what it is that you're wanting to do. You had the question on how do we do that? This is Monique, by the way, if you're not watching, but you can hear me. And then should we do a survey? I love surveys, but I want to know first, before I answer that, what's the context that you're talking about, so I can make sure that I answer it properly. Okay. And then let's see. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any other questions there. So while we are waiting for I may have answered it, right? Like I may have already answered it. Yay me. But if not, go ahead and drop some clarification into the chat while I check the Ask JJC and see. Oops. Uh-oh. While I check the Ask JJC to see if we have any responses. Just give me a second to pull that up. Okay, it says it was about the audience needs. How do you determine what the audience needs? Yeah, I would absolutely ask. And in fact, it's funny because I know I have a friend who's like, you only had 10 responses. You only had 10 responses to that poll. You should probably take that down. Yeah, but they're the 10 people who buy my stuff. So I care what they think. The other 200 people in there, they don't buy stuff with regularity, but those 10, they buy everything. So I want to know what. So I'm happy. I'm happy. That's good market research. All right. Uh, so so Okay, Google is not playing well, probably because I have too many windows open. Okay, but finding out what your audience needs, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And if you already have a good audience built, one of the best ways to do that is to take a survey or a poll. And, I have been surprised by a lot of the results of the surveys or the polls that I needed, and I've also been surprised about why people come to some of my events, or why people buy my coaching. So let's say you're going to have a virtual summit, and the goal of your virtual summit is to get more coaching clients. All right. So if your goal of your virtual summit is to get more coaching clients, well, it might be good to know what people see as your niche. And one time I was really surprised. This gentleman spoke at one of my conferences, and a lot of the other speakers backed out, and it was a cruise conference. So it's one of those things that, like, whoever gets on the boat, that's who the conference is. And a small little we had a little audience, but I already knew the audience was going to be small. The audience was mostly going to be other speakers. Okay, if you've never spoken on a cruise conference, that's usually what it is, y'all. Look, I'm just going to be real with you. So be prepared. But a smart cruise conference planner is going to find ways to set up the stage with all the heads in the right places so you get good collateral, good marketing photos, good video, you get all those things, right? And so they got all that out of it, and they were so happy because they were new speakers, and they were so happy with all the collateral they got. And they were also happy that the bon voyage dinner, it was just us. It was supposed to be a mix and mingle for the speakers, but there was a miscommunication. Well, I'm sharing with y'all all the times I didn't have anybody. I promise you, I've been doing this for 10 years, and this is my full-time gig. My full-time income that I make today is from speaking, training, coaching, and those leads mostly come from my conferences. So I promise you, I'm telling you the stories of where things didn't work out, but I promise you, it works out enough that my family does not suffer. And clearly, I have plenty to eat. All right. So we're on this thing, and the bon voyage dinner, it ends up just being us and I think one other person. And then that person leaves, and we do a mentoring session. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just, talk through your business and everything. And he makes a comment about how he was really excited to learn from me. And I said, well, to be honest with you, when I look at your credentials, I was really intimidated because he wasn't an experienced speaker. And I'm not going to name his credentials because it'll automatically tell you who this high level person is. But I was like, but you've got this and this and this and this, and you've done all these things. And I just, I'm here to serve. And I'm glad that you feel like you got your money's worth out of coming, because all the speakers came. I paid for their cabin, but they all had to get there. They all had to get to Galveston, right? So I didn't cover their plane tickets or their stay the night before or any of that, any of their extras on the cruise. I just covered the cabin. And because that's what my cruise conferences do. We pay for your cabin, everything else is on you. And but he felt like he brought his wife with him, and he felt like they got their money's worth just from that conversation. Because when I name all the things that he had done in his life, you form a certain picture of what that person must be like. And for me, being a woman of color, he's like, you've walked into rooms where people automatically assumed that you were this, and you've had to show them instantly that you were this. And so I know that you can show me how to do that. And so that's where all of our questions we're talking about that. Like, how do you establish that rapport with a hostile audience? How do you, when people have already got preconceived notions about you? Like, I had no idea that that was something valuable that he saw in me that was worth $10,000. No idea. All right. And so there's lots of ways that you can find um that to find out what people need. Well, because of that conversation with him, that created another pathway. That's not my standard clientele that watch this stuff. Okay. This fun stuff, these fun Thursday nights we have together, that's a whole different crowd. Okay. But when I market to his crowd, that's something I lean on. And so another thing that I like to do, and you can try this, you'll see me post it for some time from time to time, like, how did we meet and what first drew you to me? Or the one that I really like is how have I inspired you? And you'll be surprised at what people say. I'm constantly like, I know it's overused. I'm so honored and humbled. That's so overused in today's social media, but I really am honored and humbled when I see some of the ways that I've inspired people, because some of the ways that I've inspired people, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And then the crazy thing is the times that I think, oh, I'm just amazing. I'm going to go and I'm real feeling myself, smelling myself, thinking I'm going to just, get in there and tell people what they need to do with their lives. Those are the times don't nobody resonate. And so I'm a big fan of asking. And then here's another thing. This is another thing. If you're still on, I hope you're still on. Here's another thing that I do all the time. And if you'd like to get some more understanding of this, great book on this is The $100 Startup by Chris Guillebeau. Uh, Let me actually go into Amazon real quick, and I'm going to pull this up and drop the link in the chat. Okay, because it's that good of a book that I'm willing to interrupt my broadcast just to give you this link. Okay, The $100 Startup. There we go. And let me grab that link. Not the page. I want that book. And he tells a fantastic story in there of a gentleman who took out an ad in a automotive gearhead kind of magazine. Like, my son is something of a gearhead, the materials and designs and race cars and all that stuff. And so this guy took out an ad and said, guide to whatever it was. So I'm going to make something up because I honestly don't remember the details. Okay. But I'm going to make it up. So, like, guide to the top 10 best race courses, or the top 100 race courses you need to see in America. Okay. Oh, I should tell you what the title is. Let me redo that. The $100 Startup. Okay. Okay, there we go. So this guy, no, it was like mechanical parts or something, like a guide to where to find all the different parts and metals or something like that. Okay, and $950. So he takes out this ad. This man hadn't even written the book yet. He takes out the ad in this automotive magazine, and then he gets people that call him, and enough people call him, and he says, well. Instead of sending you the advertised volume, we discovered very quickly that we needed to do something. Now, look, y'all, I wouldn't lie, okay? I would at least have something written, but it wouldn't be much, okay? It would be a legit volume 1 when I post the article, and I wouldn't send it to anybody either. But because I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in lying. I believe that non-integrous energy comes back to bite you in the end, all right? But he said, well, if you'll give me a couple weeks, we're about to publish volume 2. So the first volume that actually got published for real, I'm sure he wasn't lying. I'm sure he had the actual draft of the manuscript ready to go. But the first volume that actually got published was volume 2. He tested the audience to see if this was even something they were interested in. Okay. When we switched platforms and we started moving things off of Teachable. Wait a second, that didn't come out right. I didn't move anything off of Teachable. If you bought a class on Teachable, it is still there. It'll be there for life. It'll be there for as long as Teachable exists. And what I'm in the process of doing is pulling everything off so that students who want to can get a folder to download their class. I mean, the stuff, it's all old content anyway. It's not like 20 other people aren't teaching it. Okay. So that they can download their class. But in that process, I was like, okay, let's migrate these classes. Y'all, I had 90 something classes in Teachable, and only 40 something of them actually ever sold. You say, oh, wow, Janine, I can't believe that. Are you kidding? That's actually pretty good. That's a 50% hit rate. Do you know that a lot of entrepreneurs who sell classes or have content, they try it out first? They try it out. They mock it up. They outline it. They mock it up, and they sell it to you. And if you don't buy it, they don't finish it. And when I learned to do that, it took a lot of pressure off. Now, I'm not saying I don't have something to offer. I always put something in there in case somebody does buy it right away. I always got the first week done. But if nobody buys the first week, I'm not doing the other 12 weeks of the program, or 13 weeks or 11 weeks of the program. I'm not doing the other 6 weeks of the program. That's part of how I test the audience. So you can use polls, you can do surveys, you can do 2 or 3 minute little videos just to see if people are resonating. And when you find something that people are resonating about, then you can take action on it. There's lots of different ways to test out the audience. I hope that answered your question, and I hope that gives you some good stuff. Now, I also want to caution against always flowing with what people want. Okay. So I have one of my most popular videos, my highest grossing video. I think it's got like, well, I should go. No, I'm not going to do that. I think it's got like 20 something thousand views, all organic, no paid content, right? For that video, my highest grossing video, the one that still more people watch every month than any other video I have on my YouTube channel at JJ Knows the Way, is about replacing the batteries in the emergency lights of the facility, the training facility and church that I opened up in Louisiana. The second most popular video on my YouTube channel. If you go by number of organic views every month, the second most popular channel video on my YouTube channel is a breastfeeding bottle review. What kind of bottles do you use for women who are breastfeeding their infants? Because when you're breastfeeding your infants, if you're at work and you're pumping into a bag, it's nice to have a bottle that doesn't require you have to cut open the bag and do all this other. It's nice to have one you can just take the bag, pop it in the bottle, and go. So I did a review on all the different bottles that I was given, whether or not they helped my son maintain his latch. So if he's drinking out of a bottle at daycare, can he come home and still latch, right? Like, I didn't think much of it. I was just practicing making videos with the content that was available to me in the moment that it was available, right? And that was before I had the facility. So that before I did the battery video, that was my highest grossing video, and that was making me money way back then before YouTube changed the channels and made it harder for me to make money. And then I had to rebuild, right? So I had a good stretch there where I couldn't make any money on YouTube because I only had like 85 subscribers, but I was making like $100 a month back then. Now you got to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Like, it's a hot mess, but it's still worth it if you can get it set up, right? But because that video was so successful and that one video was making me like 25 to $50 a month, I started switching what I did to breastfeeding and mama it and military mom and military nursing mom and military single mom. Like, I was just momming it. And momming it is not my brand. And we can be so quick to chase after this and chase after this and chase after that. Oh, these people want this, I'm going to give them this. These people want that, I'm going to give them that. These people want this, and you've got all around. Where's my circle here? Okay, you've gone all over the place. And you're going to start here with at the green, and you're trying to get over here to the other green. Okay, this is where you're trying to go, right? You see that, right? But you chase after this over here. You chase after that. They want to know about holistic living, and then somebody over here they want to know about your time in the military, and then somebody over here wants to know about STEM, and somebody over here wants to know about health, and you just keep going all around and all around and all over the place, and you haven't gotten anywhere. In the end analysis, you're just hovering all over the place where you were, and you never break free. So you got to pick a niche and stick with it. All right. You got to pick a lane and stick with it. You got to pick a purpose, an area of expertise. Okay. One of my favorite speakers, and we did a lot together for a while, but I had to part ways because every other week she was going after something new. And again, I would tell you the things, but we're all in the same circle, so you would know who I'm talking about. But she still hasn't settled on a thing. One week it's purples, and the next week it's reds, and the next week it's yellow. She's selling people on how to do yellow, and then 2 weeks from now she's going to sell people on how to do green. And I was like, I can't do that. I need you to be purple. When we met, you were purple, and I needed somebody who was selling purples because I'm selling pinks. I'm selling pinks and you're selling purples. We're a great compliment. But now you're over here selling greens and blues, and we don't look good. We clash. If you get it, you get it. If I'm speaking to you, you know what I'm saying. And the Lord's speaking on your heart, telling you it's time to make a decision. But I encourage you to make those decisions according to what your purpose is, what your values are, and what your goals are. And that way you can stay focused. Okay. Now, focus, that's a whole nother conversation we are not going to get in tonight. And so we are going to wrap things up for tonight. I was trying to get on to askjjc.com. I don't know what's going on with Google, y'all. Google's been giving me a lot of trouble, both my email account and my Google Forms and all the Google things. The other websites work, so I know it's not the rural internet, but for some reason, Google-based stuff is just not working for me today. It hasn't been working for a while, all right? So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to answer the anonymous questions, but I will. Oops, I didn't mean to put that back on. But I will come back and answer them at some other point. Okay. If you're in, this is what I meant to show that slide. If you're in and you want to do the look over my shoulder, go ahead and text I'm in to 254-454-HOPE, and we'll get you hooked up with that. We'll work out a payment plan or something that works for you. And what else do I want to say? Well, and I will also say, if you are listening to this on the Ladies of Wealth podcast, we take these broadcasts and we extract them for the podcast. If you're listening to this on the Ladies of Wealth podcast, you probably only got a snippet of the conversation. So I encourage you to go out to my social media at JJ Knows the Way on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. You can go out there and you can listen to the entire recording or watch the entire recording. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, let me just scroll one last time. If there's no other questions, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing your friends on. I hope your business is going well. If you have no other questions, y'all, that's all we're going to do today. Y'all take care and be blessed.